Hi, my name is Janine Cozy, and I'm here today to show you how to add contour lines to a map. Now, I'm using SketchUp Pro 2018. It is available as a 30-day trial if you don't feel like purchasing it, if you want to just give it a try. And what we want to start off with is importing a location in here. Now, if you don't have this toolbar showing up for you, if you just right click up here and select location, that will give you this toolbar. So we're going to go ahead and add a location. Now I'm just going to type in Lumsden, Saskatchewan, because that is the hilliest region near me. It's not extremely hilly, but you can see there's a little bit of actual terrain there. So I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here on something that might be slightly interesting topographically. We're going to select a region, and we can hone it down to whatever region it is that we want. We want to grab that region, and we'll just give it a second here to load. And once we have that in SketchUp, you'll see that it is actually just two-dimensional at this point in time. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and toggle that terrain so that we can see that it has a little bit more interest to it. Now, I managed to find a very flat piece of land which we could still use, but it would be a little bit more interesting if it was actually mountainous. We'll just make our contour lines much smaller, like 2-foot increments instead of 10-foot increments, and this map will work just fine. So the first thing we want to do is just back it up a little bit. I find that if I'm orbiting and looking kind of at this corner, it's the easiest to draw rectangles. So we're going to go ahead and select the shape tool, and we're going to just draw a rectangle over top of our map. So you can see it's intersecting with our current map, which we don't actually want it to do. So we want to select it, and we want to move it. And we want to move it along the blue axis just so that it's underneath our map. So if we take a look here, you can see our map is just floating slightly above it. Now what we want to do is just make sure that that rectangle is still selected. Now I just want to point out that you can use a lot of keyboard shortcuts within SketchUp as well. I am just using the cursor because I find that sometimes with YouTube videos, if someone's not familiar with the software, the keyboard shortcuts might move a little bit too quickly and make it hard to see what's going on. So if you want to shortcut things in the future and use the keyboard shortcuts, they're all just listed here, like P and S and Q, for example, up along your tool menu if you want to learn those later. So we're going to select the rectangle. We're going to want to move that rectangle. Now instead of just moving it, we actually want to create a copy of it. So we're going to hold down the Control key while we move this up on the blue axis. And then in this situation, because we had quite flat terrain, I'm going to try 2-foot increments. And once I make a 2-foot increment, so all I did was type in 2 and then the apostrophe key to show feet. So you'll see it on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. You'll see the distance that I typed in. And then what we want to do is make a lot of copies of this. So what we want to do is type X, and let's say we'll try 20 copies of it and hit enter. That didn't quite cover the whole map, so we'll try X30. And that did cover the whole map. So as you can see, our map is inside there now. So what I'm going to do is I have to unlock the map that's inside of here. So I'm going to hit select, and I am going to select all of the rectangles that I just created. I'm going to right click and say make group so that I can move them all at once. And I'm going to move them. And I'm going to move them off to the side for a moment because as you can see, sometimes it's easier if you move it right on an axis. So I'm going to move it on the red axis in this situation so that we can see this map. So I'm going to select the map. I'm going to right click and say unlock. And then I'm going to reselect my rectangle. I'm going to move it back over top of my map, right along the red axis like I did before. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the select tool and I'm going to select everything. So there we go. Now everything is selected, and I'm going to right click and say Intersect Faces with Model. And sometimes this just takes a couple seconds. If you don't see anything happening, don't panic. This version of SketchUp seems to be working quite quickly for this, but it doesn't always. So now if we click the select tool and we take just our group and we hit delete, then we're going to see what's left over is our map with our contour lines in it. And this really is one of the very easiest ways to get a topographic map for any area.